Welcome to another episode of Don't Panic Geocacher, channel devoted to educating you how to solve mystery geocaches. My name is Aryan, or I go by Waterfan5 on the geocaching.com website, and I'm here to talk to you about mystery caches. Today is step 2 of a series of 10 that are all there to give you a structural approach on how to solve mystery caches. Chapter 2 is called Understand the Answer. So what do I mean when I say understand the answer? Understand the answer is that you're going to look on the cache page for information that can help you understanding what the answer to the mystery puzzle will be and what the CEO intended to be the answer. The answer in a lot of cases can be a coordinate, either a full coordinate containing all the digits or a partial coordinates not containing all the digits. But that is not the only option. There's actually two other types of answers that are slightly different, and they may help you figure out what the puzzle is and what you need to do. One of them is called so-called approximation answer. That means that your coordinate has to be close but doesn't have to be exact. If you see that, and for example one of the hints could be that there is a special geochecker called GeoCheck or another one that supports approximation, it means that the puzzle might be in a specific type. This also means that you're not looking for exact coordinates, but maybe have to do something else. Another one is a so-called keyword answer. This also would require some kind of special geochecker, because now you have to figure out what is the keyword, and that once it's verified, you now can get the coordinates from the keyword. So those are three different answer types that you may see. Determining what the answer type is can help you move forward in determining the puzzle. Let's look a little bit deeper into those. So if it's a keyword type, then often certitudes is used as a geochecker. This is a popular one, but there are other ones out there that allow you to set a keyword or one or more words as an answer. You can typically see that with the logo that it is a certitude checker, and if you click on it, you will then be triggered to provide an answer. Now this might be one of some of multiple options, but one of them can be keyword required. And so now you know that you're looking for a keyword and not a full. This is important because that means that the puzzle is now something that will provide you a keyword. Maybe it could be multiple, be one word. If it's multiple, it could often be without spaces, but again, that's hints that you have to look for. The certitudes checker allows you to log in. You have to create an account for it. Once you log in, it will give you more options and more hints that may be useful if you're not sure about the answer. It also allows you to maybe receive more hints. If you have it correct, it might be a hint to the cache location or maybe a next step in the puzzle. If it's wrong, it might actually help you with the puzzle. These are all information the cache owner can set up. If you've solved it, it will also show you who else has solved it and previous attempts. Approximation coordinate is a coordinate where you don't need to give the exact coordinates. This is often used if there is some kind of puzzle involved, like a geometry puzzle where calculations have to be done. Calculations may not always result to the same because they're not exact anymore. They might be off by one or two digits. And so these checkers allow you to say if you're within 5 meters, 20 feet, whatever the unit is that's being used, accept the answer as correct. So this also means that if you see a checker that supports this and it tells you that you're looking for approximate coordinates, that now that the puzzle might often be geometry type puzzle, a guessing puzzle for the location based on that you have to pick out maybe something on a map, or maybe a conversion from another coordinate system, as the coordinate system may not always be one that is used by the geocaching or by GPS systems. Also here, if you log in, you get more guesses, and you can also get more information when you enter something wrong, or when you enter it correct, it may give you a hint. The recommendation is to always use the checker, when you're guessing, even if you're sure about the answer, because you may receive more information, or at least confirm if your answer is correct. So this is an example of geometry puzzles, is what's so-called projection, but it could be any type of math. So a projection is where you have to go a certain amount of distance in a certain direction, degrees, right? So typically from 0 to 360, but it could be another degree system. And the distance could, of course, be in any unit provided. So, of course, very regional based as well. West it will often be feet, while in the rest of the world it might be more like meters or kilometers even. The further the distance, the more inaccurate they can be. Hence, a geochecker is useful. Note that this is a special type of math and not basic geometry math. So it's not as easy to calculate. Fortunately, there's lots of tools that can help you, like CGO for the mobile application supports projection, but for other types of math operations, like intersections, finding the middle between distance, there's lots of online tools to help you. Like Now Listen to Me, the decode ones that I've mentioned before, but also several other websites support doing these type of calculations and can help you further. So let's take a look at one of these websites. This is Geocaching Toolbox, very powerful website, has lots of great features to solving mystery caches, including some that are related to coordinates and geometry. But they also have lots of cipher functions, text analysis tools, tools for various number conversions, like some math related tools that can be used. Code tables, basically alphabets, things that can be related back to an alphabet, and some other useful tools. But in this episode, I was talking about knowing and understanding your answer. And so we'll focus a little bit on the top half about the coordinate conversion system. Now, they do have a coordinate conversion as well, but I often use coordinate converter for that, but they have some tools as well, so it gives you kind of like a one-stop shop. And specifically, they have tools to measure distance and do projections and things like that. So let's take a look at that. So let's look at the projection one in this case. So for a projection, we need three things. Starting coordinate. So I'll just take a random coordinate here. I believe it's somewhere in Memphis. And then the next thing is that we need kind of like a degrees. So indicate which direction. And this is often then a given or something you calculate from the puzzle. And then a certain distance. And of course, we need to know what units that distance is in, right? So the degrees typically is to 0 to 360. But it could be another degree format. But so then you may have to do a conversion first. But in most cases, it will just be a simple angle for the degrees. And then for the distance, you have to fill in. So I'll take in 500 feet in this case, and then say calculate. So this information you would get from the cache page. What the coordinate is, what the angle is, what the distance is. You may have to read the text or do something else. And now you can this tool to do the calculation. A is here my starting point, and P is in this case the projection. A was right here, and it uses a nice little map. And now it shows me with the projection I need to be right near this church. Maybe there's a bush or something that it could be hidden in. And so we went 217. 0 was north, 180 was south, so a little bit southwest, 500 feet. And we get a good coordinate. And if there's a geochecker, we can verify this coordinate. Sometimes it can be one off depending on which checker was used. So sometimes, and that's why you often see that other geocheckers are used to get that extra accuracy that if you're close enough, you are in the coordinates, as I mentioned earlier. So this is the projection is pretty common that you see that used for certain puzzles. It could be that some more complicated elements are needed, like a distance. So for example, how far away or intersecting, you need to know the middle between 2 points. So let's take an example of those. So if you need the middle, we need two coordinates. So let's use the same starting coordinates that I just used. But yeah, I can't convert it yet because I need a second point, right? If you want to get to the middle of something, it is between A and B. So let's look point A, point B, and we find right next to the water, we find our middle point. And if that's what we needed to do, we can now use it as a final coordinate. It might be that we needed the distance or we needed the bearing. Maybe that gave us the coordinates, right? It could be that somehow these were converted into coordinates. But that's something that this website can then help you with doing all the calculations. So you don't have to do that manually. There are many different coordinate systems out there. And of course, standard one for the geocaching is the so-called GWS84 standard, the standard GPS coordinate system. Here you see two other examples as well. UTM, often listed on the geocaching website, or the decimal system, which you can. These are three popular ones that can be used by puzzles as well. But these are not the only ones out there. There's hundreds of them out there, and so it's important to be familiarize yourself with some of the more popular ones. Might be regional ones, there might be outdated ones that used to be used in the past. And the cache page may refer to those as a indication that you may have to do one of those conversions with the information that's given to you. These conversions are not always 100% one-to-one translations, hence they may give only an approximation of the correct coordinates within a certain range and not always lead to 100% accurate information, and so one set of coordinates may not always be good enough, so you sometimes see range checkers to be used. However, that's not mandatory, and so it may be that you have to try different conversions and slightly different numbers to get to the correct numbers. There's also special formats out there. So special coordinate formats that are invented by somebody, but that have gained popularity with mystery puzzles. One of those is what three words. This maps any coordinate to three different words, and if you enter those three words, it will map back to a coordinate. This is ideal for puzzles to do a conversion between words and a coordinate. You only need three words to now get a coordinate. And so in the puzzle, in the text, you may see certain words highlighted, or it may be the outcome of a certain step to help you now further. And then the final step is indeed now what three words to get to a coordinate. Used in many puzzles. You can also see Google Plus code being used. This is introduced by Google Maps and is a very short notation for a coordinate in a certain range. There's a short and a longer version of that. The shorter version is regional, the longer version works worldwide. But since a cache has always typically close to the posted coordinates, it means that the short version is often all you need, but you have to make sure that you set your map standards correctly to get it to the right conversion. Fortunately, there's tools that can help you with all these. So first thing is that you have to, of course, understand what are the coordinate system that I received. And so, for example, see the standard format has two parts, but three sets. The decimal has two parts, but only two parts, and has a plus and a minus. So based on what you get, it may indicate that you have a decimal system, or that you maybe have another system on your hand, based on the number of numbers that you receive. Or maybe it was simply because the numbers didn't look anything like it, and so now you have to look for other coordinate systems that maybe support that. Or of course, your solution could. But sometimes it might be a given of which coordinate system you're expecting, and now you know you need to version, and that will help you calculate what you do. Decimal lends itself a lot to do calculations, so with divisions and other ways. So this is a system that's popular in math type solutions. And other systems may be used for other areas. Already mentioned like what three words is popular used in combination with text. So let's take a look at coordinates converter. Coordinates converter is a generic conversion for coordinates that you can use, and supports many different formats and some of the special formats. So in this case, I'll type in a coordinate, get a starting point, and all the other coordinates automatically update. So here you see the degree one, which is a slightly different number. WGS 84 format, so we see very close to our starting, slightly different way, 35, 3, so 0, 3, 840. But here we see also that conversion to coordinates, right? So here 953, 952980. That's where that precision comes into play. So if you just took these numbers, you would actually be one off. And a standard geochecker might reject your answer. So you have to round it, in this case, to 3. And now the geochecker would correct. And this is why the approximation of coordinates geochecker can be useful, to just have that balance in there if somebody doesn't round it correct or it doesn't convert 100% the same way, that you can do that. The degree format, so in this case, degrees, minutes, and seconds. The last one goes from 0 to 60 now. And so that's another popular system. So depending on the puzzle, you may have to use some of these coordinate systems. Often it will be clued in, but sometimes not. You may have to look at the title to figure out what you need. Very popular these days are the what three words. It supports many different languages, but it gives every coordinate a different word or a different set of 3 words. So healthier hopes speak links to this location, but another set of 3 words would link to another location. And so you can hide 3 words in the text and now encode a coordinate. And so very popular for geocaching. Google Plus code, which I already mentioned before, is another way. It's a Google system for the open location code. It can be used as a partial code, just the last 7 numbers, or it can be used for a worldwide code like this. The partial one is shown here, but now you see you need to know the city, or otherwise this may point in somewhere else in the world, because we're only given a partial one. So it's important to realize that do I have the full one? Do I have a partial one? Because I may need to enter more with the Google Plus code. So these are some of the important ones to know, but the good thing is there's a website there that can help them convert for you. They also have some very unique ones that are being used, some specific US-based ones. They have that here as well. So there's a list of those that are maybe more common or less common. Older system of the WGS 84 standard are encoded here as well, and some international unique ones are available here. So a wide variety, and so a very easy tool and a nice little map to help you convert. As I mentioned in the beginning, often, however, you get a full coordinate in a standard coordinate system. And in most cases, it's almost the assumption that that is what it is. So you get the standard format. So depending on where you are in the world, you're looking for anywhere between 12, 13, 15 digits. Leading zeros, as this one has, you can often ignore. So that makes it 14 if the zero is needed, or then it could be 15. Or for example, on California or other areas of the world, it starts with 120, for example. So you need all the digits. So you need a 15-digit number. But in certain areas in Europe, it only has low numbers. If you go north enough, or if you go west enough, it may only lead to like single digits, and so reducing the numbers. Fortunately, the posted coordinates will kind of give that away of how many digits you can expect. I'm going to use most of the time here US coordinates on the east coast of the US, and so I'll be working with 14 digits. The north and the west part are often a given, and just by the separating or just by after 7 characters, for example, that's when the west coordinates start. So don't always expect the north and west to be there. They sometimes are just assumed. Now, based on assumptions, the puzzle may also say, well, you're only looking for 10 digits. I'm assuming the first part, N34, West 83, for example, and I'm only looking for 10 digits, 5 for the north part, 5 for the west part. Can make the puzzle slightly trickier to solve, as we can't use the assumption like, oh, I'm looking for a 3, I'm looking for a 4. No, I'm basically looking now for the rest of the numbers, which much more variation is allowed there. In certain cases, I've also seen puzzles that only have 6 digits, so now the entire first part is solved. You only need the final 3 of the north the west in this case. You hope in that case it's a very easy puzzle, as there is lots of variations to get to different numbers, and if it's a very complex puzzle, almost every potential number can be made as a, well, I did this, and now the geochecker will have to tell you, did I have the right strategy? So my personal preference is that this is only used if the puzzle is very straightforward. If it's more difficult, it really should have a 10 or a higher number. So now, if you know what coordinates is being used, how many digits you are expecting, you start looking for something in the puzzle that will have that same number. Am I looking for a 6 digit, a 10 digit, or for that 13 to 15 digit, right? Or of a multitude of those. So for example, it could be that I'm looking for 26 or 39 because maybe every 3 characters or every 3 things will give me a single number. It might also be that it's only 5 things given, and somehow 5 things will now have to make 10 numbers, and you have to figure out how to get from that 5 to the 10. So it's important to count things on the cache page to see, is this indicating of a number in the coordinate? Is there maybe 10 of something and maybe represent a number itself? 26, so it's letters that they represent. And so counting different elements and see how many there are can give you a long clue to what am I doing, what am I working. If you get something that's a very high number, it could be that something is spelled out, but it doesn't have to be. It could also be that many characters only lead to one number. But counting is important in that case. Another thing to take a look at is how 0 is used. In this case, the example coordinate I used, see a 0, 1. Well, if there is a 0, 1, then maybe there is a 0 at the third location. So now I'm looking for where the third location maybe is slightly different in a way. Maybe there is a blank left, and it will now tell me like, oh, blank now means 0, and it gives me kind of a hint of where you need to go. So always try to look at the cache coordinate and see if you expect a 0, because it may help you. For example, there is no 0-letter word, right? So they have to do something special if word length is important. And if it's a letter, then also, again, you're looking for maybe the J, the 10th letter of the alphabet. So A is 1, B is 2. Well, J is then 10, but they need a 0, so they use J to represent 0. I've seen that quite a bit in the puzzle as well. It could also be that they're going always one higher, and so basically it means that they had trouble encoding a 0, so you have to subtract 1 from everything. So in this case, it would start with 4, 5. It's like, oh, if I see a 4 and a 5 and a 1, like, oh, 3, 4, and 0. So take that 0 into account, because it often may mean that something special had to be done in the puzzle. So let's take a look at some examples. Here you see the first example. Now, I already immediately noticed something that comes out to me, and that it's split in two. And that's something that's almost like a giveaway, because coordinate has 2 parts, like the longitude and the latitude. The first part of the coordinate, the north in my example, and then the second part, which is the west part. So that's good, because that means that if I'm looking for 40 numbers, which in my example I was going to use, then I need 7 and 7. Okay, is there something that I see 7 of? So let's count the number of sentences. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. That looks pretty good. The top part has 7. The bottom also has 7. I'm probably onto something that every sentence maybe represents a number. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that's good. I mentioned if something is to do with letters, then often the J is used. Well, I see a couple of J's here. So I pay special attention to Joe's, and yeah, that looks good. Or I needed a J in the third location. Well, I have one here. So I'm going to go here that the first letters here represent coordinates. That doesn't always have to be the case. Of course, every puzzle can different. I have seen count the number of A's or count the number of ABCs. It might be a reference to the title. The title might be a 14 letter word. And so now it's maybe like, oh, I have to do something with the title because there I found the number. But look for those numbers that match the coordinate sequence. And so here we found it in the sentences. And so if we do all the starting of each sentence, we get that 2 times 7. That converts to these two combination of letters. And of course, with j being 0, it converts to the following. Let's take a look at another example. So here again we can start counting. Well, I see 9 boxes and 1 outside it. 9 was not the number we were looking for. So it is not that I have to just go by the boxes. The only other thing I see here is that there is letters. Let's count those. 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Hey, 14 was the number I was looking for my coordinates. So that works good. So I'm going to go here with that the coordinates are represented by the letters here. Well, it can't be A is 1, B is 2, because, well, A, B are here. But I have 10 of these, 10 digits, 0 to 9. So maybe that is something special. And also, remember 0 was sometimes special. Well, these are outside the box. Maybe those represent 0. So that is how we can then derive that these would be the numbers, and then the letters would now represent the numbers in the coordinate, the digits in the coordinate. And so if you do then the solution, you will end up that it started with 3, 3, so A and B needed to be 3. We had the 0 there. We got the H, which we wanted the 81, so 83. And so we have the H right here. And so we can kind of derive that we're probably following a phone system. This is not the only one that looks like this. For example, if you look at the keyboard, you will also find a numeric, but the numbers are in different locations. And there's a few other sets out there where the numbers are not always organized this way. So you kind of have to try different things, but phones and keyboards are commonly used if you see a setup like this. The next example is an actual geocache that's out there, part of one of the series that I published, GeoHeist, and show how we can solve that one. So let's take a look at the cache page. This is GeoHeist Loot, and this is part of a series of 9 caches. 2.5 difficulty. We see there is not a field puzzle, so we know it's an actual mystery, and that there is a geochecker. So because they're part of a series, the first part is kind of like showing the other caches in the series, so that's not the actual puzzle. Puzzle is located here, same as the screenshot that I showed you, and we see here the certitude checker. So let's take a look at that. And we see here that it says keywords required. So this is important information, since now we know we're not looking for a coordinate, we're actually looking for a keyword. So we see here a screenshot, and we see here a cache coordinate, this case in the decimal system. Far away, nowhere near where posted coordinates are. Post coordinates are 33, this one starts with 50, so a coordinate conversion in this case wouldn't be as much good. Since it is a coordinate, probably my first guess it would be that I had to look at Google Maps. So in Google Maps, maybe go to those coordinates and see if I see something special. The cache is called the loot, and so that is the answer that we're looking for here, is what is the loot, right? What was the heist that they were trying to, what were they trying to steal? So if I go to Google Maps and open it up right here, go to those coordinates, do I see anything specific? Well, that looks in the middle of nowhere. Maybe it's the city, that's really can't steal that. Maybe there's something on satellite view, so switching to satellite view. Nothing really strikes me as that gives me a keyword. Car dealer, maybe stealing cars. Could give it a shot, but that's in this case not what we're looking for. So then next one would be, since we're looking for a word, what about what 3 words, right? It's maybe that will help us work with it. Well, let's take a look at the what 3 website. So this is what 3 words looks like. And so you see this grid right here. It starts in the center of New York, but every location kind of has a unique set of words. The words are not in the same range. So wherever we click, we get 3 very different words. So also here, we can now try to do a coordinate conversion. And in this case, I can just type in the coordinates right here, press enter, and it will show me the same location that we saw like before, same city, same town. And now it will show me what is its name was. Take diamonds only. That looks pretty good for a heist. Maybe that is my answer. So what I can do is copy and paste, or I can just type it in. Let's go to this checker and say take diamonds only. Okay. Certify my solution. And it says, sorry, that is wrong. However, it also gives me a hint. So what is the loot? Oh, it must be diamonds. And I can type in diamonds and it will give me the cache coordinates. It has been solved. So this is just one of the ways to do it. There's other online tools that can also do it. Let's take a look at a different one. So here we have the coordinate converter, and here we can take a look as well. Copy the coordinates. So I'll just quickly take the coordinates. But since it's a decimal degree, I have to type it in 2 pieces here. I'll do that right here. One part and the other part. And it goes again to the same city, and we see it in all different systems, including into what 3 words, and in English, take diamonds only. I went to another language, German. You see I get completely different words. So it's not take diamonds only anymore, not even German translation. It's just truly 3 very different words. So always take the language here into account as well. But now we have solved this geocache. That brings us to the end of this presentation. Here are some of the links that I used. The first one I'll pretty much mention always because they're always useful to go to for every puzzle. The Cache Sleuth website, Geocaching Toolbox, and the Decode site. They have so many different variations. Geocaching, whether it's ciphers, alphabets, coordinate tools, they pretty much do everything. And then the 2 coordinate conversion ones that are out there. There's again many others out there, but these are the more common ones that are probably used. And then for geometry, again, many websites out there. These are some of the more common ones that I use when I see a geometry lab puzzle. With that, it's truly the end of this episode. If you like it, please subscribe. That way you will get notified when a new episode is out there. If you have any feedback, if you like it, please leave a comment and of course upvote the episode itself. If you have questions or maybe you have suggestions, maybe you like me to do a video about one of your puzzles, more than happy to work with you on that. So please contact me. I can be reached as whatofn5 on the geocaching.com website, or you can email me at geocacher.whatofn5@gmail.com. Thank you very much, and hopefully this will make you panic a little bit less when looking at mystery caches.